Hello trucker family, this is Kevin with the trucker side. Our team is always on the trucker side. We're back with yet another video where we put the truth in one of the other videos that we spoke about. It's sort of a myth versus reality type of stuff. Make sure you follow all the way to the end so you can understand everything we're talking about. Subscribe to the channel if you like our content, hit the notification bell and stay on top of everything we put out here. I will give out a fair warning. Some of the things I'm going to say some people won't like, some companies won't like, but we have too much of this going on in the industry and we definitely need to address it. I think all of us need to address it and say things more clearly. First, I want to talk about local work. In all truth, local work sounds really good. Sounds like you're going to be making a lot of money and being home every day. You do have to consider the fact that you will start work very, very early, generally 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. and pretty much go until the evening. It's not a light schedule. It sounds like you're home all the time, but in all truth, you're working most of the time and you're just resting at home. So make sure to keep that in mind. Another thing you want to consider about local work, a lot of it comes with physical labor. A lot of it is driver load and unload, whether it's cases of food, packages or whatnot. You might do a lot of physical work, so if that's not your cup of tea, make sure you consider it accordingly. It can destroy your back on the long run if you don't do things right. So make sure you keep that in mind and make sure you keep the schedule in mind. Very, very important, because a lot of drivers think that local work, you just get to drive a little bit and then home, spend all the time with your family. And in my honest opinion, your family is not going to be very happy with the schedule that you run. So definitely keep that in mind. Regional work. One thing that I want to bring up and emphasize strongly over here is that there are a lot of companies out there that will say that you drive regional, but they're kind of pushing over the road. They say regional because it sounds better, because they know people want to be home more often, so they just exploit that. They just tell you that you're going to be running regional and be home every week, when every time the weekends they just try to tell you that, well, there was no load or something came up or whatnot. There's a lot of excuses. I don't want to put them all here because I don't like to generally use them. But I do know they happen and you have to be very, very careful of them. Then another thing to consider, you'll be home on the weekend. Most times you work regional, so any appointments that you might have, doctors, lawyers, school, whatever everybody has going on, you might not be able to get to them because generally you'll work Monday to Friday or make it home on Saturday. So every public office is going to be closed. Make sure you account for that when you go and inquire about regional work. And then also consider the fact that if your promise is not being kept, if the promise you're being made is not kept, you're basically sacrificing your home time without fair compensation. If the company you work with does push for over the road versus regional, then they're going to pay you as regional and run you over the road. So make sure you balance that out right. Make sure you understand what each of these means and make sure you go with the right choice. Over the road trucking. The real deal, 48 state, out all the time, going everywhere and anywhere. The biggest factor to consider over here when it comes to over the road is that money is usually not what it's promised. And I'm not even gonna only talk about companies that make a promise and they don't keep it. I also want to bring up the aspect of other drivers that tell you how much they make. This is very, very important. Drivers have a tendency to tell you the money they make in their best week. So make sure you understand the difference between your best week and an average, because you will not have your best week 52 weeks a year. So therefore, if you go based on the fact that you're going to make this much money every week, but then there's a discrepancy most weeks, well, your average is going to be much lower. So make sure you set that in your mind right before you get going, because you are going to be away from the house most of the time. This is something that you and your family needs to understand. You will be gone for weeks, maybe months at a time. So be very, very careful. Then another problem is that you have to be very careful with. Some of the companies do not offer 24-hour support. So then that means that your truck might break down at 11 p.m. or 1 a.m. You're not getting a hold of anybody until the morning. That's a lot of time to sit on the shoulder. It's dangerous and it needs to be addressed better in average. It is not okay. The shoulder is for emergencies. You should not be waiting there for hours. You should either have a mechanic come out or a tow truck and get you off the side of the road where you're safe and the problems with your truck can be addressed. Also, you have to keep in mind that you're running over the road. A lot of the times you'll be eating at truck stops. Truck stop prices are expensive. Quality is low generally, so even if you make more money, you're going to spend more money to be out there. So unless you're very organized and get your groceries and do a little bit of meal prep and so on and so forth, you're going to be spending most of the extra money you're making, so you won't get to keep your gains and use them for what you want, because they'll go right back into trucking, right back in the same bucket. Then your home time. Once you are out with your truck for 2, 3, 4 weeks or a month and a half at a time, most of the times when you get back home after a few weeks on the road, you're going to have to go see a mechanic. You might spend some time going to your truck, driving your truck to the shop. Maybe you'll have to wait over there. Then you'll have to bring it back where you park it. Not a lot of shops have the room to park all their customers. So some of the over-the-road driving is going to go right back into your home time, because there's going to be stuff you have to do while you're at home. You're going to have to get some stuff ready, whether it's laundry or food or stuff that you want to take with you, since you'll be gone for an extended amount of time. And all of these things are gonna bite into your home time, and you want to make sure you consider them accordingly. Another problem that's very often met between drivers is the health aspect. The more you're in the truck, the more chances you have of getting back problems. So if you're not somebody that's healthy and physical and staying active, chances are with over-the-road driving, your health is going to degrade faster than it does with other types of driving, just because of the amount of time you spend sitting. I'm talking about over the road mostly from personal experience. It's what I did most of my career, and I know a lot of people that have been doing it. So take this advice from somebody who's been there, and be very, very careful of your health, your finances, and so on and so forth, because it can be beneficial, or it can be quite a sacrifice, and you can end up being unhappy because of it. So make sure you weigh it in correctly. Truth about driving for big carriers or mega carriers, or however you want to call them. When I say this, I'm talking about companies, hundreds, thousands of trucks. You probably see them on the road all the time. I don't want to name them. I don't think I'm supposed to name them. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, but I do want to talk about it because people have to know. People should know what's going on. Problem with these big companies is that they say they offer a lot of training when they actually don't. They will throw you in the truck with a trainer. They don't really care if you get along with the trainer or not. The trainer is a trainer or is not a trainer. The trainer could be a driver that wants to make more money, so he says, yeah, I'll take on training for the extra pay, but he doesn't have the skills, he doesn't have the patience, he doesn't have the mindset to train somebody. He just wants you out of his truck to get the next trainee, and just goes on with the flow, which is the least that you need when you're training. You need somebody who's focused on helping you grow, and that's something that's hard to find these days. Then equipment. Yes, I know most big companies have new trucks, or they should have new trucks. However, in reality, there's about 2% of rookies or less that get a brand new truck. Most of them will get used trucks, and that's the last thing you need when you're a beginner. A truck that breaks down on you all the time, that's going to make your life way, way harder. Dispatch problems when it comes to big companies. One thing that I call a problem is a lot of them only communicate by text, which is understandable because they deal with thousands of drivers, so it's hard to have the manpower to actually stay on the phone with that many drivers, so communication will be pretty scarce and pretty light over text. Sometimes there's problems like maintenance. Say you'll break down. I have heard these stories. I don't want to point out fingers towards anybody, but it does sound pretty cruel to me when I hear that people that drive for a company that runs thousands of trucks have been stuck on the shoulder for 7-8 hours at a time. That's a lot. It's a lot. It's dangerous. You're not getting paid for it, and that's something that should not happen. So be very careful. Be very careful, because we're talking about your health and your livelihood over here. So you got to make sure you stay on top of your game. The reality about benefits when it comes to big companies is that, yes, they do offer benefits, but you have to pay for them. So do keep in mind that when we're talking about a bigger company, we're talking about lower pay. Balance that out with the cost of the benefits and understand that your check is not going to look very great. Sorry to say this, but I do have to. Once you take out the benefits, your check won't be great. So definitely keep that in mind. Then a lot of them do offer paid time off, which you might get or you might not because of the way they want you to run. This is something you have to understand in your specific situation. It might not be a general thing, but I have heard a lot of people complaining about it, so I wanted to bring it up here in the video so you guys can account it and see what works best for you. Driving for smaller companies, 10 to 100 trucks or less than 10 or anywhere in between. Well, this can be quite a gamble. You could find yourself a great company that values their drivers and makes sure that you're always taken care of, or you could find companies where the first red flag that I've seen quite a lot, and I definitely recommend everybody not to go through that, is wherever a lot of yelling is happening. Do not put up with anybody's yelling, because that is a bad practice and that will generally balance everything off. I have heard company owners, dispatchers, or all sorts of people in the company yelling at drivers like drivers are the last piece of scum on earth. Drivers are not the last piece of scum on earth, and everybody should understand this. They should be treated like humans. They should be treated respectfully. With smaller companies, you might or might not find a familiar environment. I personally recommend the companies where you do have a familiar environment because it makes life so much easier. There's also the downside of the equipment. A lot of small companies will not have brand new equipment because they can afford it, and that's only normal. It's only business, so you have to kind of see what's more important to you, working in a nice environment or driving a brand new truck. Having somebody that picks up the phone for you all the time and helps you, or driving a brand new truck and not getting everybody to answer the phone when it does break, because do believe me, the brand new truck will break down too, as much as the other one. One thing that I would definitely keep in mind when it comes to this, if you want to speak with other drivers while you're in the recruiting process and that is being denied, that's probably because the other drivers are not very happy. If they're not happy, you're not going to be happy. So definitely try and communicate with other people that have been there longer, see what they think, see what problems they went through, what challenges they went through, and how they were dealt with. And that should tell you all you want to know about driving for a small company. Now the truth about pay structures in trucking, the stuff that no recruiter tells you right off the bat. So you got cents per mile, hourly wage, and percentage. I'll start with the cents per mile. Technically, I think that any driver should be paid for the amount of miles he actually drives or she actually drives. That's of course with consideration to the fact that if you take a wrong exit or if you take a detour for no reason, then those miles you should not be compensated for. So it's sometimes hard to put a right system in place. Bottom point is, some companies won't count the empty miles, some companies will count zip code to zip code, or some companies will not take into consideration the fact that maybe there was a snowstorm, you had to go around, or you had to take a detour, in which case I think you should be paid for those miles and still won't add them to your statement. So make sure you get clarity when it comes to this from the recruiting stage, so that when you get to see your check, it reflects the reality and not what the company wants to pay you. They should pay you for what you work for. Then hourly rate. Hourly rate can vary, and sometimes you're promised overtime, but then when it comes to the actual work being done, your schedule is being manipulated to where you barely get any overtime ever. So make sure you understand the schedule that you'll be working with, especially because you'll get paid hourly more when you work local. So you might think that you're making a lot of money, but then at the end of the day, when you draw the line, you barely made anything. Then percentage pay. Careful with percentage, because over here you're getting paid a certain percentage of the gross amount that the truck generates. Now, these are numbers you don't generally see, so you're kind of taking a leap of faith over here and trusting the people that book the loads to give you the right information. I feel like in order to to properly do this and be successful, you have to trust the people you work with 100%. So if you're going to do percentage, make sure you find a company that you trust. Make sure you find a company that other people trust. That's very important, because that's going to be the secret to your success. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you find the information useful. Please subscribe to the channel, follow us, ask us if you have any questions. We want to keep putting the truth out in trucking, because that's one of the biggest problems of the industry right now. We're always here. We're always on the trucker side. Thanks for watching this video. Have a wonderful day.